I playfully said if we were the same age, I'd marry you, but my friend's mom took it to heart. Your destination for authentic stories that take surprising turns. If you loved the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button. It significantly contributes to the growth of our channel. Let's jump right into the narrative. I've always considered myself a straightforward person. My work is clear and uncomplicated. I provide handyman services. When a fence needs fixing, a leaky faucet requires replacement, or a deck is in need of repair, people reach out to me. It's genuine work, and I truly enjoy it. No, the boss is hovering over me, free from office politics. It's just me, my tools, and the satisfaction of a job expertly completed. Occasionally, I receive calls from my friend Kyle. Actually, he sends me messages from China, where he has been residing for the past few years. We've been friends for ages, but since he relocated, our connection mainly thrives through texts and the rare video call. He continues to reach out, and from time to time, he requests a favor. It's not about him. It's all for his mom, Barbara. Barbara resides merely a short stroll away from my place. In her 50s and divorced, she has been navigating life independently for quite some time now. Kyle is an exemplary son. He can't help but worry about her, even from thousands of miles away. Whenever he asks me to swing by her place to take care of something, I'm more than happy to help. There's always something small. Replacing an out-of-reach light bulb, clearing a clogged sink, assisting her with the setup of a new TV. Things of that nature. This time, it was her vehicle. Kyle sent me a text in the morning. Hey, the car isn't starting. She reached out to a mechanic, but their earliest availability is next week. Could you take a moment to look into that? With a free afternoon on my hands, I let him know I would swing by. As I arrived at Barbara's house, I noticed her waiting outside, leaning against her car in the driveway. She greeted me with that familiar, warm smile that never failed to brighten my day. I've donned my hero cape. Text, I made a quip as I climbed out of my truck. She chuckled with delight. I certainly hope so. This device has been causing me issues all morning. Barbara exuded an undeniable confidence that set her apart. She exuded a unique charm, effortlessly showcasing sophistication in her casual jeans and sweater. Her dark hair was interwoven with strands of silver, and they complemented her beautifully. She appeared to be someone who had everything under control. She exuded independence, intelligence, and an effortless ability to maintain control over every situation. I opened the hood and began inspecting everything inside. The battery terminals showed some minor corrosion, but nothing too concerning. After a brief period of adjustment, I polished them up and secured a few connections. Give it a go, I urged, taking a step back. With a smooth motion, Barbara settled into the driver's seat, turned the key, and felt the engine come alive with a powerful roar. She gazed at me through the windshield, her eyes wide with surprise, then broke into a grin. You truly are a hero in my eyes. Just a guy armed with a few tools, I shrugged. She stepped out of the car, dusting off her hands with a swift motion. Impressive speed. I braced myself for the worst, anticipating the need for a new engine. No worries, it's just a few loose connections. I cleaned my hands on a rack. Just a simple fix that a mechanic would have charged you a premium for. She gave a slight shake of her head. I honestly can't imagine my life without you. She had uttered those words before, yet this time they carried a deeper significance. We stepped inside where she prepared a cup of coffee for me. That was yet another aspect of Barbara. Whenever I lent her a hand, she was adamant about treating me to coffee in return. It had truly evolved into our signature move. As we gathered around her kitchen table, the warm glow of the late afternoon sun poured in through the windows. The dialogue flowed effortlessly, just as it always does. She shared with me the story of the neighbor's new dog that just wouldn't stop barking. I shared a story about a client who attempted to settle their bill with homemade jam instead of cash. We shared a hearty laugh. At that point in the conversation, I let it slip. It was unexpected. It was nothing serious. I was simply having fun, just like I always do. If we were both the same age, I would definitely say yes to marrying you. I intended it as a playful compliment. Touch of whimsy, that's all there is. Barbara smiled, yet a hidden depth lingered in her gaze. A unique experience. She placed her coffee cup on the table, tilting her head ever so slightly. Would you consider it? Text her delivery took me by surprise. No laughter echoed. There was no casual flick of her wrist. She gazed at me as if she were genuinely contemplating it. I let out an awkward chuckle. Absolutely. You're intelligent, amusing, and a fantastic companion. I paused, suddenly aware that I was elaborating far more than necessary. Her gaze lingered on me, a gradual smile blossoming on her lips. I savored a sip of coffee, aiming to redirect the conversation to a different topic. Your car is in perfect condition. It won't cause you any further issues. Barbara reclined in her chair, a smile still gracing her lips. I sincerely hope that's not the case. However, if it happens, I'm confident in knowing exactly who to reach out to. I chuckled, savoring the last sip of my coffee. Always delighted to assist. At that moment, it didn't cross my mind. Upon reflection, perhaps I ought to have. Several days went by, and I found myself not dwelling on the events that unfolded at Barbara's. For me, it was merely another visit, another favor to fulfill. Absolutely, I cracked a joke, but that's just the kind of humor I often share. I didn't have any expectations going into it. Next, she reached out to me. The sun was beginning to dip in the sky as I wrapped up the final touches on a wooden deck for a client across town. As I was gathering my tools, my phone suddenly rang. Barbara's name appeared on the screen. "Hello, Barbara?" I replied, expertly balancing my drill in one hand. "Hello there." "Hello, Brad. I hope you don't mind me reaching out, but it seems that my kitchen sink may be leaking." I attempted to secure the pipes beneath the cabinet, yet the dripping persists. Let's get straight to the point. Barbara has never reached out to me directly in the past. Whenever she required assistance, it was always through Kyle. He would message me to see if I was available and I'd head over. However, this was something fresh. A leaky sink was hardly a cause for concern. "Absolutely no problem. I can stop by." "Is that so? That sounds fantastic. I truly appreciate it." "Thank you." She expressed a true sense of relief, and I couldn't just walk away while she faced a broken sink. I gathered my equipment and hit the road. An extraordinary welcome awaits. Upon my arrival, she welcomed me at the door with a radiant smile. "Brad, you truly are a lifesaver. I'm committed to ensuring the plumbing industry maintains its standards." I made a playful remark as I entered the room. The aroma of vanilla mingled with delicate floral notes filled the house. Something understated yet impactful. Barbara's outfit had a unique twist today, setting her apart from her usual style. It wasn't anything wild, but she swapped her typical jeans and sweaters for a stylish fitted blouse and a chic skirt. Her hair cascaded down, perfectly framing her face, and I wouldn't be honest if I claimed she didn't look stunning. I dismissed the thought. "Concentrate, Brad. Start with the sink." She guided me into the kitchen, where I knelt to inspect the pipes. It was just a small leak. It's simply a loose connection on the P-trap. A swift solution. "This seems like a straightforward task," I declared, extending my hand toward the wrench. Barbara rested against the counter, her curious smile fixed on me. "You excel at this. Have you ever considered billing me for all these visits to my home?" I let out a soft laugh. "No way, you're part of the family." "Somewhat." She inclined her head. "Somewhat. Well, Kyle feels like family, so that sort of makes you." I caught myself. "She feels like a mother to me. That seems unusual." Barbara wore a sly smile. "Proceed. Complete the thought." I concentrated on securing the pipe, deliberately steering clear of her eyes. "Forget it." She chuckled gently. "I truly value all that you do for me." "Absolutely," I replied as I examined the pipe. "Say goodbye to drips. That should be sufficient." Barbara brought her hands together in a cheerful clap. "Incredible. Allow me the pleasure of preparing dinner for you as a token of my gratitude." "Barbara, you really don't need to," I insist, she interrupted, already heading toward the fridge. "I had plans to cook regardless. Why not stick around?" I paused for a moment. I found myself utterly famished. Conversely, there was an unmistakable shift in her behavior that caught my attention. "It's not bad, it's simply a change." "Understood." I finally agreed, but only if you promise to keep it in check. Her smile radiated warmth. "Agreed." Perhaps a bit overly cozy. The dinner was truly delightful. Barbara excelled in the kitchen. Succulent roasted chicken, creamy mashed potatoes, and an elegant salad creation. We dined at the table, just the two of us, and the conversation flowed effortlessly as it always did. Yet, in that moment between topping off my wine and tidying up the dishes, her fingers brushed against my arm with a casual grace. It was a subtle touch, barely there, yet it caught my attention. And I was aware that she saw me seeing her. "So, Brad," she said, propping her chin on her hand, "I've been reflecting on what you mentioned the other day." I blinked. What I expressed. Her smile radiated warmth. "If we were the same age, what would it be like to marry me?" I almost sputtered my drink everywhere. That. I was just having a bit of fun with that." "I know," she remarked, swirling her wine gracefully in her glass. "It was a lovely idea. I was completely at a loss for how to reply to that. This was a realm yet to be explored. Barbara had an undeniable allure, but she was also Kyle's mother. This was a boundary you simply did not cross. Yet, she remained resolute. She inclined her body slightly forward. Age is just a number, and it certainly doesn't define the joy we can share together. I took a deep breath. Barbara, indeed. With a smile, she leaned back comfortably. Take a deep breath, Brad. Consider keeping an open mind before dismissing possibilities. I polished off my drink and rose to my feet. It's time for me to head out. Barbara rose as well, accompanying me to the door. As I turned to bid farewell, she paused for a fleeting moment. Just the right amount of time for me to question whether she was anticipating something. However, I had no intention of discovering that. I quickly expressed my gratitude for the dinner. Her smile lit up the room. Whenever you're ready, Brad. As I opened the door and inhaled the fresh air, I made my way to my truck. What on earth just occurred? That night lingered in my mind, refusing to fade away. Barbara's words echoed in my thoughts. Of course, she was simply being playful, or at least that's the narrative I attempted to convince myself of. Yet, there was an undeniable quality in the way she gazed at me, a subtle suggestion of something beyond mere friendly banter that left me feeling unsettled. In the days that followed, I immersed myself in work, putting up shelves for a couple nearby, repairing a fence in a backyard. Just the usual tasks that keep me occupied. Yet, the phone calls continued to pour in. Hey Brad, I just picked up some new furniture. Would you be able to assist me in assembling it? Hey Brad, my garbage disposal has ceased to function. Would you mind coming by to take a look? Hey Brad, the porch light has stopped working. Can you spare a moment to address this issue? Every single time I agreed. I was never the type to refuse lending a hand, particularly when it came to Barbara, a longtime family friend. However, with every new request that came in, a sense of unease began to creep in. Barbara relied on me as her trusted handyman. Although I was happy to lend a hand, I couldn't help but sense that these calls went beyond mere home repairs. One evening after she had repaired her porch light, she graciously invited me in for a cup of coffee. As the evening wore on, it was typical for her to make such a request. As we settled into the living room, she passed me my cup, radiating a sense of relaxation like never before. So, Brad, she began, her voice a gentle whisper, softer than usual. I found myself reflecting once more on your thoughts regarding age. A wave of apprehension washed over me as I braced for the potential twists this conversation could unfold. Barbara, I mentioned it was just a joke. Text, I understand, but it's hard to get it out of my mind, she said, taking a seat opposite me. It's rare for someone to make me feel like I'm more than just a mother, you know? I squirmed in my seat. I truly didn't intend it that way, honestly. I merely mentioned it in passing. She leaned in slightly, her gaze firmly fixed on mine. However, I believe you truly meant it. Perhaps it's simply that I've spent so much time by myself. Yet, I find myself pondering, what if this isn't just a joke? Her words struck me with the force of a gut punch. This response took me by surprise. Absolutely, I was aware that Barbara had been single for some time, but I never imagined she would interpret my comment in such a serious manner. Before I had a chance to reply, she rose from her seat, strolled over to a nearby bookshelf, and retrieved an old photo album. She settled back beside me and opened it up, revealing snapshots from her younger years. I once found myself in your shoes, Brad, vibrant and carefree. However, life unfolds and circumstances shift. As time passes, individuals mature and become immersed in their obligations. She took a moment, her gaze fixed on me. I want to express my feelings honestly. I've been feeling quite lonely lately. I find myself pondering whether you might actually be correct. If we were the same age, my heart would be racing. I found myself at a loss for words and actions. The atmosphere was charged with an undeniable tension. For the first time, I truly sensed the gravity of the situation bearing down on me. I aimed to protect her feelings. She was truly a remarkable individual, warm-hearted, humorous, and approachable. However, she was also the mother of my best friend. That certainly added a layer of complexity. Text, I believe you're overanalyzing this, I remarked, making an effort to maintain a calm tone. We're simply friends, Barbara. That's everything. With a gentle motion, she closed the photo album and placed it aside, a subtle wave of melancholy crossing her features. I understand, Brad. I genuinely do. The atmosphere was charged with unspoken words suspended in time between us. It was clear to me that her feelings weren't rooted in anger but rather in disappointment. Yet, as I departed that night, the discomfort in my stomach intensified. I was completely at a loss for how to manage this situation. How could I possibly see her in the same light after everything she had just revealed? I aimed to be kind, yet I recognized the necessity of establishing clear boundaries. Barbara was an exceptional individual, yet there were boundaries that must remain unbroken. I considered reaching out to Kyle to share what had transpired. Yet I found myself unable to take that step. Where do I even start with this explanation? The following days flew by in a haze. I stayed occupied, steering clear of Barbara's calls and messages. I realized that I couldn't avoid her indefinitely. Yet the thought of confronting her again sent a wave of unease through me. And yet deep down I realized that I couldn't escape the situation for much longer. Sleep eluded me. With each blink, Barbara consumed my thoughts. Her visage, the way her eyes met mine as she recounted my words, was captivating. It was never my plan for things to unfold like this. The words were merely a light-hearted jest, a thoughtless remark that slipped from my lips. Yet now, it seemed as though they had unlocked a door that I was unable to shut. This was an entirely new experience for me. Absolutely, I've experienced my fair share of uncomfortable encounters with women, but this one was unlike any other. Barbara was truly one of a kind. She was the mother of my best friend. Her age was a factor, certainly, but it wasn't the core problem. The issue lay within the power dynamics. I couldn't simply act as if nothing had occurred. Emotions were running high now. The most challenging aspect was my complete uncertainty about how to approach the conversation with her. I aimed to protect her feelings, yet I was equally cautious about leading her on with unrealistic expectations. I had no romantic feelings for her. That's not how it should be done. How can I convey this without causing her to feel rejected or even more upset? Feeling humiliated? It was a Thursday afternoon when the phone call interrupted my workflow right in the thick of a project I was immersed in. As my phone vibrated in my pocket, Barbara's name lit up the screen. I paused. A part of me considered letting it slide, allowing it to go straight to voicemail, yet another part recognized that wasn't the right choice to make. I replied, making an effort to keep my tone relaxed. "Hello, Barbara, how are you doing?" A moment of silence lingered on the other end. Then her voice, more gentle than ever. "Brad, I've been reflecting on our discussion from the other evening." I shut my eyes, feeling my stomach twist in knots. At last, it had arrived. The heaviness of the conversation was palpable even before it began. "Absolutely, I've been pondering it as well," I replied, striving to maintain a sense of calm. "Hey Barbara, I never intended for things to become awkward." A soft sigh escaped her lips before she spoke once more, her voice barely above a whisper. "I understand you didn't intend it that way, but my feelings are what they are." I pressed my fingers against the bridge of my nose. "Barbara, I wanted to ensure I conveyed the right message. I must admit I didn't, but it's time for me to be truthful with you." For a brief moment, she fell silent, and when her voice returned, it carried a gentle warmth that tugged at my heartstrings. "I get where you're coming from, Brad, but it's definitely a challenge. The feelings I've had for you since that night are impossible to overlook. I've been grappling with it, yet it continues to occupy my thoughts. Regarding you," I took a deep breath, overwhelmed by a surge of guilt. I never intended to mislead her, yet I also wanted to be mindful of her feelings. "Text, I understand, Barbara," I replied, my tone softer than normal. "I genuinely do, but it's important for you to grasp one thing. My feelings have changed. I appreciate your interest, but I'm not in the market for a relationship right now, especially not with someone who's a friend's mother." A lengthy silence lingered on the other end. The soft rhythm of her breath reached my ears, causing a tightness in my chest. At last, she broke the silence with her voice. "I never imagined you would feel that way," she said softly. "However, I must be candid with you, Brad." A wave of sorrow washed over me. I felt no anger, not in the slightest. I was unsure about how to resolve this issue. "Thank you for your honesty, Barbara," I said, searching for the perfect words. "I believe it would be most beneficial for us to return to the way things used to be. We can absolutely remain friends, but I must be clear that I can't offer anything beyond that." After a lengthy silence, she let out a deep sigh, as though a heavy burden had been released from her shoulders. "Absolutely, I understand. Sometimes the truth can sting, but it's exactly what we need to hear. I simply want to understand our position." A peculiar blend of relief and guilt washed over me. I had expressed everything that needed to be expressed. Conversely, I had caused her pain, and that filled me with regret. "I apologize, Barbara," I said softly. "My intention is never to cause you pain. I truly appreciate you as both a person and a friend, but I'm unable to provide anything more at this time. I trust you see my perspective." Another pause lingered, yet this time it felt lighter. "I certainly do, Brad. I genuinely appreciate your honesty with me." We lingered in the silence for a moment, both uncertain of how to bring the conversation to a close. At last, Barbara chimed in, her voice more buoyant. "All right, I'll let you return to your tasks. No need to worry about me. I'm doing just fine. I truly appreciate your understanding." "Absolutely," I replied, a wave of relief washing over me. "Wishing you all the best, Barbara." "Absolutely, Brad. You as well." After we hung up, I leaned back against the workbench, a wave of exhaustion washing over me. The discussion unfolded better than I could have anticipated. Yet an unsettling sense lingered that nothing would ever return to its former state. I was uncertain whether I had made the right choice. I had been truthful with her, yet I was aware that I had caused her pain. At this moment, uncertainty loomed over what would unfold next. Could our friendship withstand this challenge, or had I just stepped over a boundary that would turn everything uncomfortable from now on? I found myself in a position where all I could do was wait and see what unfolded. A week had passed since the discussion with Barbara, and the atmosphere was undeniably charged. She reached out to me several times, but I consistently found excuses to dodge her calls. The moment she reached out with a text inviting me to swing by and lend a hand with some tasks at her place, I felt the temptation wash over me. Yet deep down I recognized it was a decision fraught with complications. I needed to establish clear boundaries. My intentions were rooted in respect, both for her and for my own values, rather than any sense of malice. This was never part of my plan. It all began with a careless joke, one I blurted out without a second thought, and now I was facing the consequences. I never intended to cause her pain, yet I understood that my words had sown a seed in her thoughts, a seed that I couldn't simply overlook. That evening, I found myself in my cozy living room, the TV flickering in the background, yet my focus drifted elsewhere. My thoughts wandered to distant places. The message from Barbara lingered on my phone, untouched, while the missed calls began to accumulate. The gravity of the situation bore down on me, leaving me at a loss for solutions. I had no desire to be unkind, yet I couldn't continue to give her false hope when I wasn't inclined to pursue anything more. I glanced at my phone once more, filled with uncertainty. Another message arrived from her. After much contemplation, I realized that reading it was inevitable. I could no longer sidestep this issue. I accessed the message. "Hi Brad, I was considering the idea of having a conversation. I'm longing for our chats. I sincerely hope you're doing well. Feel free to reach out if you're interested in meeting up for a coffee soon." A soft sigh slipped from my lips. The guilt washed over me once more. For days I had been steering clear of her, yet there she was, making another attempt to connect. I felt a twinge of sympathy for her, yet I was equally drained. I had expressed all that was necessary, and there were no additional answers left to provide. It was challenging to find the right moment to express my need for space, to admit that I could no longer maintain the facade that everything remained the same between us. I paused for a moment, fixated on the screen before me. I had the option to overlook the message. I could have ignored it, but that just didn't sit well with me. Barbara was no stranger to me. She was the mother of my best friend, a familiar presence in my life for many years. I inhaled deeply and started to type. "Barbara, I've been reflecting deeply on all that has transpired, and I want to ensure I'm clear about my thoughts. I value our connection, but I need to change the way we communicate moving forward. This situation isn't beneficial for either of us. I care about you, but I have to prioritize other aspects of my life at this moment. I trust you see my point." Upon rereading the message, a knot tightened in my stomach. I aimed to be gentle, yet I recognized the reality of the situation. The moment had arrived to turn the page on this chapter. I hit send and leaned back in my chair, eagerly anticipating her reply. It was a quick process. Once more, my phone vibrated with a notification. "Got it, Brad. I truly do. I appreciate your honesty. I apologize if I created any discomfort. I will make an effort to honor your preferences." A peculiar blend of relief and sadness washed over me. A wave of relief washed over me, knowing I had chosen honesty, yet a deep sadness lingered, realizing I had caused her pain. A truth that stung more than I was willing to acknowledge. I set my phone aside and reclined, attempting to absorb all that had transpired. I never envisioned things unfolding like this. I was simply trying to assist a friend, but somehow it escalated into a situation that felt beyond my control. I must confess, I wasn't completely blameless in this situation. My thoughtless words ignited a chain reaction. I had always taken pride in being a decent person, someone who stepped up to assist others in their time of need. This situation revealed just how quickly things can spiral out of control. I had caused pain to Barbara, and there was no turning back from that moment. She was the mother of my friend, and I had stepped over a boundary that I couldn't take back. In the days that came after, she vanished from my life once more. It felt like she truly understood my words and provided me with the space I required. I was certain I had made the right choice, yet it didn't bring me any comfort. A persistent feeling of guilt remained with me. The quiet that hung between us was palpable, leaving me uncertain if I could ever experience the same warmth in her presence again. I made an effort to progress in my life. I was immersed in work, dedicating more time to my friends and pursuing my personal aspirations. Yet, even at this moment, I couldn't dismiss the sense that something significant had changed. I wasn't merely steering clear of Barbara. I was sidestepping the repercussions of my own choices. It wasn't my intention for things to escalate like this, yet I found myself unable to alter the course of events that had unfolded. I discovered a profound truth about the influence of words and their ability to mold relationships, whether positively or negatively. Ultimately, I came to understand that even the tiniest misstep can unfold into something far more significant than you ever anticipated. When it comes to Barbara and me, I can't predict what lies ahead. Perhaps in due course we can restore our friendship. Perhaps not. I had given my all to be sincere and compassionate, even if the results didn't align with my expectations. Ultimately, I discovered that certain things are beyond repair. Embrace your mistakes and take responsibility, then focus on moving ahead with the hope that a new, more manageable reality will emerge.